These people want to keep you in a fear state, in a programmable, controlled state, in a gullible state. And the blue light does that. The light is not just inert, it has information, and it's programming you at the cellular level, at the quantum level, even at the conscious level.
Do you believe that this was a nefarious act to dampen the life force energy of human beings on planet Earth? Brian Richards is a nationally recognized expert in light therapy and has spent over 13 years as the founder and CEO of SaunaSpace, pioneering full-spectrum incandescent light therapy.
People don't think of light as poison, but light can be poisonous if it's synthetic LED light. The actual cells of our body are breaking down and being destroyed. You shut down our upper mental function. It puts us into a stressed out, defensive, reactive survival state. That's the opposite of what's in our very nature. You know, our very nature is to expand, to connect with the divine, to connect with each other. Light is created from heat. That's how the sun creates it. So heat creates light, and they're both together. They're just different wavelengths, and we're designed to get both of it together. So sunlight or firelight sauna, it's like one of the best things to do.
What's the emotional and scientific benefit of finishing the hot-cold therapy with the hot?
Well, the most powerful tool that humans have to heal themselves is
when we look at LEDs that are out there, do you believe that either consciously or unconsciously from government policy, that this was a nefarious act to dampen the life force energy of human beings on planet Earth?
I would say it's a confluence of factors and influential forces. So some of it is just consumerism. When you shine bright blue light on people, they stay, their attention stays to wherever that's coming to. And it also activates the sympathetic nervous system. So it puts us into a stressed out state, a reactive state, where we're basically more easily programmable. So that's why they use blue light, bright blue lights in casinos all night long. And also when you go to the mall or you go to any retail store, all the lights are brighter. So there's some of that motivation, you know, to get people to buy things, just more of a consumerist motivation. But yeah, also it's been known for a long time. It's not just like the last 10 years that short wavelength light is very stressful to the body. It puts you into a reactive state, into a defensive state. It really does cause us to shrink. Like if you shine blue light on worms, they like try to crawl to the ends of the earth to escape the blue light. Us humans, it's the same thing. Yeah, you shut down our upper mental function. It puts us into a stressed out, defensive, reactive survival state. And then we shrink, not just like physically, but definitely energetically and emotionally. And that's the opposite of what's in our very nature. You know, our very nature is to expand, to connect with the divine, to connect with each other, to connect with everything. And that's a state of expansion, of awareness, of energy, of connection, of love. So yeah, all of this is definitely working against it. And I would say, yeah, at this point, it's definitely used in ways to cause people to be like in just a constant fear state. Yeah. Kind of like the EMF2, whether it's intentional by these forces or not, that's what it's doing.
I had this visual where some, behavioral scientist or light scientist, if there is such a thing, I consider you to be a light scientist, but there's somebody in a governmental agency that came across the research at some point and they were like, hey guys, this is really harmful. These LED flickers are super harmful to human health. And they probably just put it on a shelf. Much like, in that Indiana Jones movie where they found the Ark of the Covenant and they stuck it in a warehouse somewhere. That's kind of what I feel like happened to the research that the government just turns their cheek to. So whether it's consciously nefarious or unconsciously nefarious, I'm curious your take on why LED is so prevalent. You go to stores, LEDs everywhere. Incandescent, you have to order from special websites or use the firelight like you have with SaunaSpace. Like, it's challenging for most people to get incandescence. Why do you think this is?
Yeah, definitely they basically like quasi-banned incandescence by increasing energy efficiency. That was the overt reason.
That was the claim.
Was to save like electricity.
Yeah.
But if you look at the electrical bill in homes, like 40 or 50% of your electrical use, even more than that, is your air conditioning. And then the rest is like your water heater and some of your high energy appliances like dryers, electric dryers. So,
Yep.
so the savings that you get by switching your whole house from incandescent to LED is like tens of dollars a year, maybe $50, maybe $100, but like across an entire year. It's a very minimal cost savings because you're not having the lights on all the time. They're not running 24 hours a day. So that was the reasoning. But I would say, yeah, there's definitely some more nefarious, more subversive elements at play here because as we know, there's some of the light emitted by incandescent bulbs is invisible infrared. It's the long wavelength light from the sun that the more we do research into it, it's so healing for us. As we talked about this, the last few times, how amazing red light is, near infrared is, even some of the mid infrared and far infrared. We're seeing more and more benefits to these invisible wavelengths, and incandescent bulbs emitted them. So when you're indoors in an environment that's not really natural to humans to be indoors like this, when you have incandescent light and you're bringing the nature's light indoors, and it has this healing effect. So it's not just being used to see things, it actually is healing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think definitely when you switch to the LEDs and it's only the blue light, you took out that whole healing component, and definitely to the detriment of our health. And also the high E, the low E glass windows that are the energy efficient windows.
It's a low E glass window.
Yeah, it's called E glass or whatever. The newer energy efficient windows, they basically block out all of the healing near infrared. That's heating, but also it stimulates the mitochondria and all these amazing benefits that we call red light therapy.
Anytime we get in the way of nature, we always lose, like every single time. Let's listen to this clip. This is actually a clip about modern LED lights. This is fascinating to me. And if y'all are watching on Spotify or YouTube, it's on the screen now.
When we use LEDs, the light found in LEDs, when we use them, certainly when we use them on the retina looking at mice, we can watch the mitochondria gently go downhill. They're far less responsive. Their membrane potentials are coming down. The mitochondria are not breathing very well. You can watch that in real time.
Under LED lighting.
Under LED lighting at the same energy levels that we would find in a domestic or a commercial environment.
Domestic or commercial environment. So like this would be me now through this knowledge swapping out my light. Mitochondria decay through LED light. That to me is the most alarming thing about LEDs. And honestly, we're starved from the full spectrum light anyways. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, the mitochondria are absolutely like destroyed by this short wavelength light, this blue light, basically blue light and ultraviolet light. It causes free radical formation in the cells. It causes immediate damage. And the LEDs don't have, like, the sun has blue light and ultraviolet light, but the sun also has tons of red and near infrared, mostly near infrared, actually. It's over 70% of the sun's wattage is near infrared. So you're getting a little bit of that free radical damage from the blue light from the sun, but you get all this healing from these other wavelengths that are more longer wavelength. The LEDs don't have that. So you're getting just all damage. And the way we live nowadays, we're all indoors, we're all under the LED lights. We're actually not just using them for task lighting, we're staring into them all day long for the computer screens. And yeah, it wrecks not just our eyes and our eyesight and not just our sleep cycle and our circadian rhythm. It's like the actual cells of our body are breaking down and being destroyed slowly, especially the mitochondria. The functioning of the mitochondria is essential to optimal health. Like, more than anything else, how we receive, convert, and utilize energy is the essence of like our health and longevity and everything. It's, you can have the perfect diet, but if your body's like low voltage, it doesn't have high redox potential, and your energy utilization isn't very good, it doesn't matter how perfect your diet is, you're still susceptible to disease and you're low energy and just things are not working right. So, and in fact, the mitochondria is one of the best biomarkers for longevity. Like what is your actual biological age is what is the health of your mitochondria. So we want to do everything we can to support these little guys. And blue light is, it's interesting because people don't think of light as poison, but light can be poisonous if it's synthetic LED light, which is, we've been talking a lot about blue, but you mentioned flicker as well. LEDs that are wired LEDs all flicker at 120 hertz, which is twice the frequency of the electricity supply in the US. So it's turning on and off 120 times a second, like a strobe light.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have those warnings when you go, like I was just watching Stranger Things with Mila, and it's like, be careful. There's like bright lights in this. It's not good for people who have like, you know,
pacemakers, stuff like that.
Audiovisual issues, or, you know, or people, you don't want it to give you like a seizure or something. But that's what these lights are doing. They have the same strobing effect, and that's extremely disruptive and stressful to the nervous system.
When I go into people's homes that aren't yet expanded by this conversation and they're using super bright lights, like we'll be eating dinner at a friend's house, I'll ask them, do you mind if we turn down the lights? And most homes don't have the roller that like slowly brings the light down.
Most of the LEDs don't dim unless you like get the special ones.
Right. So beyond just the science, anecdotally, when I'm eating food, I can't stand loud music and I can't stand bright lights.
That's right.
Is that the same for you?
And no arguing either at the table.
Yeah, that'll mess up
Only
your digestion.
Love, yeah, absolutely. And if you're living like in a rental home, you know, and you don't own your home, some of the best solutions are those like plug-in lights that you can get. You can even get ones that are remote control. Even though they are LED, you get a warm one, and you can dial it down. So then, especially after dark, your light is coming from the sides and low, like what our ancestors had. After dark, our ancestors had the campfire. They didn't have this super bright above us light. And it's horrible. It totally is horrible.
I was so stoked to get introduced. I think it's been 5 years we've known each other, something like that. Yeah. And I was using my normal glasses at the computer. But then from you, I learned about this arm where I could put the firelight, and I could actually use the red light to dampen the effects of the screen flickering at me. And you know what I would notice? I don't even need my glasses anymore. The blue light blocking glasses.
Yeah.
Do you do the firelight and do you do the blue light blocking glasses at the same time, or is that arm with the firelight enough?
When I'm working at the computer, so our little lamp is called the Glow, and it has a firelight bulb and it's a firelight tech.
There's literally one right there on my desk.
I'm like you. That's all I use because it cancels out the blue light and the flickering light, so it neutralizes all of that bad stuff, and it energetically has this healing effect, this centering, grounding effect. It's like having, you know, a little sun next to you, which you don't have to point it necessarily at you. It just needs to be kind of up in the area, and it is creating a light environment like you're biologically programmed to get. So I just use the glow light, you know, and the firelight at the computer. Typically, I will use a blue blocker lens, a blue blocker glasses if I go and watch a movie at the theater. Yeah. Or airplanes, you know.
That'd be hard to sneak in a glow light at the theater. You're like, can I plug this in the wall?
I know. I've thought at times though to bring it onto the plane and just plug it in while I'm there. Like, why not? But
you get some looks.
I haven't tried that yet, but I may try that at some point soon.
Well, I think about the load that we're all experiencing, this concept that we've explored on previous pods, the allostatic load, right? How much stress adaptability we have through, and you know, not all stress is bad. Like eustress is good, right? Hormesis is a good thing. Yet when we're in a soup of pollution, electrosmog, EMF, light, flicker, and all these things, we can actually want to change our life. We can want to be a better person. We can want to have the things that we desire. Yet if our allostatic load is super high and we're overflowing, doesn't matter how much willpower we have. Let's say for an identity transformation, somebody who's moving from broke to wealthy or disempowered to empowered. There's an emotional intelligence here that comes through light as food instead of light as poison. Can you expand that? If you've ever blown up your life for no logical reason, congratulations. Your biology works. You're not broken. You're just running an old pattern. After 10 years of podcasting and interviewing 800 plus of the sharpest minds and deepest hearts on planet Earth, I built something simple to help you interrupt these patterns fast. I kept running personally into the same stuff, and audience members would write to me and say, Josh, I'm dealing with the same core 3 things, which are expressed through emotional epigenetics that are our emotional patterns, our unconscious beliefs, and our environment. This self-liberation blueprint is a free training where you get clear on how these 3 areas are blocking your life, and in 10 days, you can move from being stuck and distorted on the inside to clear and on purpose on the outside. The Self-Liberation Blueprint is a 10-day jumpstart that's perfect for the human being that feels stuck, but they just can't figure out why. Now, I built this with no smoke and mirrors. I know in our world, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors when it comes to personal growth and spiritual development. I built this with 24 years of my own health, wellness, and personal development life experience. So I can save you money and save you time and start getting your results as quickly as possible. On your first day, you're gonna go right into a self-assessment where we know exactly where you are and exactly where you get to be. We're gonna take you through a dream vision process and specific breath work to create your life vision that you desire in the future as if it's here right now. All of this is free because I'm here to give it to you as a mentor in the same way that my mentors gave it to me. It is purely just my gift to you. You also get free access to the Liberated Life Tribe, a community of people like you and I that are actually doing the inner work instead of just pretending that they're fine. By the time you're done, you're gonna know exactly where you are in your wellness pentagon, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and financially, and you're gonna have a map, a mindful action plan to move from clarity instead of distortion. This is not therapy for people that are broken. You're not broken. You're just bioenergetically burdened. And I'm here to tell you that removing these burdens is possible. And I believe you can do it. You don't need fixing. You just get to have a clear starting point and a plan that actually works with your biology. If you're ready to move forward with your life without forcing it, join me inside the Self-Liberation Blueprint by heading over to liberatedlife.com. Come join us.
Yeah, it's not enough to just want something. We need to be present and aware of the truth of reality as it is and not as we necessarily want it. So in life, in reality, like there's only one truth, like this table. Even calling it a table is me using my words as symbols and giving a subjective truth lens to it. But the real truth is there's this thing here, this table, whether it's beautiful or ugly or functional or valuable, that's a subjective truth. And so any of that subjective truth is a part of us understanding and interpreting our own reality. And we have our own, like you may feel very differently about this table than I do. And that's okay. Just understand that that's subjective.
Yeah.
But there are objective truths. There's objective reality, absolute reality, let's call it, even though it's, maybe maddeningly hard to understand and grasp because we see everything through our programming, through our trapped emotions, our ancestral stuff, and also just our life experience. And yet there is a truth about human existence and human reality. And to come back to what you're talking about, like poison, like mercury, aluminum, and these other heavy metals have no biological function in the body. This man-made electromagnetism, the more we study about it, it's nothing good it does to the body. It does bad things, and I am using some subjective truth there. I'm saying good or bad, but
yeah,
it's taking us away from our divine nature. It's when we have things inside us that are poisoning us, they limit and prevent our ability to be ourselves, to truly embody like what it is to be Josh, in this world, a divine being, like connected to the Creator and in service and in full self-love and in service of all the people around you, where you're just like elevating everybody. You can't do that if you're poisoned. You're like just super limited. And so there is an objective issue here, an objective truth that these things are super toxic for us. And we want to be in our divine selves, in our divine nature. We want to be in our highest expression, and we can be. It's also not something that's unachievable. It's very achievable, but I think anyway, that it helps to be really aware of the tools that we can use that are both external tools and actually some of the best tools that we have, the internal tools to like keep ourselves clear and healthy and aware and clean.
Yes. I want to give you credit where credit is due. I think it was 2 years ago in our second podcast, you mentioned the neural tree, and I had never thought about it that way. And it actually, giving you credit, is in our life method. It's in our self-liberation blueprint that's on the screen right now. It's the entire process of customer journey that people come in and experience how to nourish thyself, because this podcast has always been about nourishing the 5 sides of us: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial nourishment of self. That's the lens that we're looking through in this conversation. So this neural tree nourishment that I came up with because of teachings of you and Stephen Young and other people to really nourish the neural tree, we first must identify what is deadening the tree itself. Can you talk about the flicker of LED and also the healing power of the incandescent when it comes to the actual nourishment of the branches, the trunk, and the roots?
Yeah, the nervous system is like the master system. It's the kind of the king of all the gut might be some people call the gut the king of the organs, but like the nervous system regulation, the functioning of the nervous system has this overarching influence on every other organ system in the body. And definitely like one of the clearest indications of how to live a long life is to keep your nervous system relaxed. In other words, be able to manage stress well. Stress coming in, it's really well managed. You're staying relaxed. The nervous system is staying in a parasympathetic state most of the time. And if we can manage that, we can be incredibly resilient. We can take a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And we can handle it really well if our nervous system is really strong and adaptable and flexible. Unfortunately, I would say most of us don't have that nowadays. And it's not just about living the perfect life right now, even like all these 5-6 elements that you're talking about. It's all the crap that we dealt with getting to this point.
Yeah.
That in many ways, in terms of like the concept of trapped emotions has been really fascinating for me the last 2 or 3 years. There's this book, Emotion Code, by Bradley Nelson. And there's some other people who worked in this area that energy, that if you don't let an emotion be processed, which only usually takes like 30 to 90 seconds.
Dr. Jill Taylor, she did a study,
Right.
90 seconds.
Yeah, 90 seconds. If you let it.
If you
don't let it, or if you're stressed, or if you're like a little kid and you're like, your parents you're like, whoa, you don't know how to deal with it. It becomes trapped in the body. And it's literally an energy, like a chunk of energy or a ball of energy that's trapped in the body in one of your organs. And it leads to, it absolutely disrupts your mental, physical, and emotional body, and it eventually leads to disease. And yet you can totally unravel all this and heal it. And that's why, like Bradley Nelson, some of his case studies are just fascinating, how like 3 months of daily emotion code, and this guy that like fell off a second story and has this terrible back pain, for years and years. It's like not doing anything else, just clearing the emotions. It like clears that. So there's all these things that we can do that are not just physical. I think that's one of the most important things. Like Kimmy Lucas, who is one of Mila's bridesmaids. She does a lot of like spiritual guidance therapy. She's based in Austin. She's really amazing too. She started out with the emotion code and kind of evolved it into her own thing. And I've also seen from her personally, and also with my wife and with other people, just amazing progress you can make in understanding that emotions are physical. They're like energy, just like light is physical in the sense that it's energy, and it influences us dramatically. So given that we are light beings, light is the currency of the universe. And if the currency is not the right currency, like the LED light, it drains us and totally shuts us down and mentally, physically, energetically, and it keeps us prisoners of, you might call them the nefarious force. I call them the forces of separation. There are those who think that doing things in a way that's separate from the creator is better than the other way. And I just don't agree with that. So these people want to keep you, in a fear state, in a programmable, controlled state, in a gullible state, and the blue light does that. And so the liberation from that is red light, near infrared light, the long wavelength light.
You literally took the words out of, I was just going to say, we liberate ourselves by being as close to the sun without the damaging parts of it as possible. That's liberation of the physical first.
Yeah. And like I was just thinking, I just actually had dinner last night with Stephen Young, and we were talking about this a little bit, that the ancient Taoist masters, they didn't have any of the really cool, amazing, awesome biohacking tech that we have nowadays, like sauna space, firelight, and all these other really cool things. They lived, and they lived these happy, incredibly vital lives, and they lived like hundreds of years old. A lot of documented cases. And what were they doing? Most of the things they were doing were living in concert, in harmony with nature, and understanding, having a deep awareness and a daily alignment and activation of inner healing processes, the divine pharmacy we have within, and these basic practices of sunlight, grounding, breath work, and eating clean, and then using like certain targeted herbs. Like that's a whole branch of Taoism, is like, I forget what it's called, like the use of special herbs and barks and flowers and stuff for particular ailments and particular problems. And these guys, they live such simple lives and such beautiful lives, and they didn't have all of this tech. And they had it all figured out, is what I'm saying, a long time ago. And a huge key component of that is light and frequency, which is the sun and the earth, and us being out there in that.
I love that you talked about the emotion, because when I created the blueprint, the self-liberation blueprint, I was going into the research over and over again. And it just finally hit me in the face. I'm like, emotion is energy in motion. It's literally, it's that simple. The truth is light, you know? When you hear the truth, it's like, it doesn't need some huge 12 paragraph explanation scientifically. If we have trapped emotion, energy in motion, then you can just go to the second law of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transmuted. So that to me is science and spirit and maybe the Taoists all saying the same thing. Can we just wake up to the fact that if we tend to the physical vessel first, that's why I put the physical at the bottom of the wellness pentagon, because you can't really do any of the other ones if the physical is being sucked of its life force vitality. So then enter the room, the firelight, this technology that you've created. You created it because you yourself were suffering. You were bioenergetically burdened. Your physical was not working as God intended it to be. If people don't know that story, can you just go into that story a little bit? Because you created this because of your own pain. You created this because of a disease or an ailment that you were experiencing back in the day.
Yeah, originally I had some insomnia and acne on my back, and I was just kind of like low energy. It was kind of lethargic. It was at the end of my college career, and it didn't make sense to me. Like, why do I not have as much, why am I not like just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed all the time? It was some kind of adrenal fatigue stuff. So my mom, who's a physician and a fan of your podcast, actually. She listens to it a lot.
Shout out to Brian's mom.
She's Dr. Bonnie. She's based in Columbia. So, but when I was growing up, we were in Montana. We were based in Great Falls, Montana, and she was all natural, prescribing supplements and vitamins, all natural stuff in the 80s and 90s, like super ahead of her time in many ways. And my dad was then a radiologist, very allopathic, conventional medicine, and I got to see both those perspectives growing up. So once I grew up, although I love my dad and respect him so much, for my personal health issues, I called my mom. And she's like, Brian, you're probably just toxic. You probably just need to get a sauna and detox. So she sparked it all. So she was like, whoa. And I looked up and researched the sauna. It was amazing. Eventually found Dr. Kellogg's work, the electric light bath. And it's a sauna that uses light bulbs to power the sauna. And his work called Light Therapeutics, which you can read, and he was part of all these guys who were using light bulbs for healing in the early 20th century. And this has all been suppressed. It's now come back. Now we have light therapy, most of it, unfortunately, LED based, but we're different, And so I saw this concept and I was like, oh, I got to do this. And I built my own, and I used it, and right before bed, slept amazing. And the same thing the next day. I was like, whoa, no more insomnia. And that got me really intrigued and curious. So I continued to use it for many months, and all of my acne cleared up, all my energy levels, my patience with everybody. Like, it was a big shift. And I noticed my mental function was a lot more clear. I've never been like illiterate or anything, but like I was foggy, and I didn't notice until I did the sauna for many, many months. And I realized I had some brain fog that I was just not aware of.
Yeah.
It was a blind spot. So that was the inspiration, man. I was in rental real estate at the time, and I was like, I'll make a few of these for some other people. And I was on my mom's website, and you had to like email me through her website, and I'd invoice you by PayPal. It was really like low tech. But that was the start of it. I basically made like 20 or 30 there in 2012. Yeah, 2012. And then this one of my early customers called me crying, and she was like, you're not going to believe it. I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I lost my job, and my whole life went to hell. My relationships, everything stressed out. and I've been using your sauna for like 3 months. And I'm almost totally symptom free. I've got my job back. I've got my life back. And she's like crying. I'm like tearing up. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not doing the right thing with the real estate. I was like, there's something here, something special. So I dropped my tools and, never looked back. Got an SBA loan. Didn't have any business experience.
What year was that?
That was 2012. So we're in the 12th year. We're almost in the 13th year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, this is so amazing. So you found something that now science is kind of catching up to. On the screen right now, there's a study. Artificial LED light weakens menstrual cycles, but also a new study shows red light therapy improves connectivity in the brain and enhances memory in 20 minutes. Check this out. This is so cool. So they found that 12 minutes of either infrared light therapy. Now it's this 1064, is that nanometers? That's how they measure the light?
Nanometers, yeah.
Applied to the scalp. And what they found was that transcranial photobiomodulation improves functional brain networks and working memory cognition in healthy older adults. So it's like you were literally proving back then, just anecdotally through this customer, science, there's a big lag time with science, it seems like. Do you find this, that you already intuitively knew when that customer reached out to you, when you had the healing effects, and now there's this delta where science is like, yeah, I guess intellectually, scientifically, we can prove it.
Yeah, well, science wants to see one variable and then one effect and isolate everything else. This is sort of the double-blind protocol, and it's impossible to do in life. Like, especially with broad spectrum light, you have all these different wavelengths. Which one is doing exactly which thing? So when you make an LED that only emits, 1064 nanometers, and then you can, use that, then you can say, oh yeah, this one wavelength is doing this. But if we step back and just use our inner knowing, like we don't ever really learn anything. We already know everything. We just have to remember it. We have this DNA database inside us that stores all this information, probably everything we need. And then everything else is in the field and in creation and the creator. And we can tap into that when we're clear and we have self-awareness, whether it's through breath work or decalcifying our pineal gland. And everything we need to know is essentially inside. And I'm saying that because like when you go out in the sun or you sit in front of one of my firelight bulbs, you don't need to know what wavelengths it is. You can feel like this, my body likes this. This increases my frequency. This is expansive to my emotional body. This is grounding. I'm relaxing. I'm feeling good. But yeah, science is always going to want to isolate things. And that's how they can play tricks and say like, vitamin C can be bad for you if you give like 3 pounds to a mouse, and so forth. In the, I think it was the ibuprofen that came out during the Spanish flu, that if you look back, like they were giving these doses of ibuprofen that were killing people. They are now doing that with so many different things where they'll take something natural and they'll give such a high dose of it and then say, oh yeah, see how bad this is, and stay away from this natural stuff. Continue to use all this toxic pharmaceutical stuff. But this is a really interesting study and it's a good call out because even in biohacking and natural science, natural wellness, it used to be thought that the only benefit that's photobiomodulation are the wavelengths that the mitochondria absorbs through the cytochrome C enzyme. So the mitochondria, it's in every cell of the body, right? It's our little batteries. They have this light receptor enzyme on it. It's called the cytochrome C, and it's light activated. It's only 600 to 1,000 nanometer wavelengths that activate it. So this wavelength is outside that. And even within that band that's 400 nanometers wide, there's some peaks. There's some areas where like there's more absorption than others. So Sauna Space got a lot of criticism of this in the beginning of like, oh, there's not enough red light. There's a lot of near infrared, but there's not enough red. It's not nearly as therapeutic as like an LED red light like panel. And the truth is, it's much more than just the mitochondria that's going on here. Using broad spectrum light to heal the body has to do with this collaboration, the symphony of all of these wavelengths together. That's what biologically coherent light is. So what we're seeing actually now in newer research is the wavelengths beyond 1,000 nanometers, which are traditionally not thought of as photobiomodulation, are like super beneficial for the brain, for cognitive function, for causing stem cell release from the skull bone cells, releasing mesenchymal stem cells into the brain, which helps break up amyloid plaque in the brain. It helps like clear the brain and cleanse it. And like, so there's, the more we will continue, the more science will continue to investigate and catch up, the more we'll realize what we've known, what the ancients knew, what I've known for 12 years, and what I think we're all, what society is starting to remember, that incandescent light is better. And there's something really powerful about getting optimal light therapy and optimal heat therapy in this natural form of this natural distribution of wavelengths that you only get from incandescent light.
I mean, personally, I shared this with you last week. I had a cold. I call it a genetic upgrade. I was going through a genetic upgrade, to quote Zach Bush. And I have the double stack. I have like the Uber version of the sauna space with the 8 fire lights.
Super sauna,
The super sauna. Dude, I did super high dose methylene blue, and I sat in there twice a day for like 20 minutes. I opened my mouth and I'd let the light go down into my throat and into my sinuses. I shit you not. I could literally feel like a crackling and a healing. I'm not making this up, y'all. I could actually feel the blue from the methylene blue, the firelight and the photobiomodulation and the infrared. I could feel something tingling in my nose and in my sinuses that would not have been possible if I didn't stack those two. Can we talk about that? The blue and how it attracts the red and how it clears out the crud. Because I felt it. I mean, this just happened last week. I feel great today, but that was fascinating to me. That's the first time I've ever really done that with the heat and the light therapy and the methylene blue. There's a scientific prescription here. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, methylene blue is really interesting. It's a synthetic dye that was first made in the 1800s, like the late 1800s. But it was the scientists like put it in this petri dish with malaria bacteria, and it killed it. And it was this discovery. And then they started to use it to treat malaria and to treat parasites and to treat infectious organisms. And I'm talking about like the late 19th century, so a long time ago. And so it's been around since then, and it's incredibly safe. It's really weird how it's this electron donor and receptor in the mitochondria. So basically what it does is it upregulates the mitochondrial enzyme function of, there's like different enzymes in the mitochondrial membrane that are part of the electron transport chain. It's like how we make energy as animals. And the methylene blue upregulates like 3 out of 4 of those. The fourth one is the cytochrome C that I mentioned, the light receptor enzyme. Methylene blue doesn't really do anything to that, but the red light and the near infrared light does. So both of them together have this synergistic, like super activating effect on the mitochondria. And that's why we call methylene blue photodynamic. So if you take methylene blue and get it into your cells, take a little bit. I actually like to sometimes take methylene blue and get on the vibe plate and then wait like 20 or 30 minutes. And like, then it's like in every cell of the body, especially if you take the oral version, like Dr. Lawrence's.
That's the one I took. Yeah. The squares.
So you take it takes a little bit for it to get into the cells, but then once it's in the cells, then you sit in the sauna space sauna, and the red light and the near infrared light in combination go in there and photodynamically activate the methylene blue. So the methylene blue works better. And I feel like there's something about the near infrared light activation of the cytochrome C that also works better. And there's a synergy between the two that is just so powerful. When you get the mitochondria working, it's not about like stressing the mitochondria out, putting it in overdrive. It's about having it be in this perfect, efficient, optimal function. The body has extra energy to help out with the heat. And so the heat is there, which is activating heat shock proteins. So cellular detox, activating and opening and liquidating the lymphatic system and all the blood, increasing the tissue oxygenation. So we're moving toxins out of the cells, we're moving toxins out of the body through the sweat and to the other organs elimination. And the red light is there and the near infrared light is there fueling this whole process. So it's not so intense on the body. It's actually like supercharged. You're like increasing the speed of the detox basically, and the effortlessness of the body to be able to do that. And the methylene blue kind of takes it to another level in that increased mitochondrial activation. And it has those other ancillary effects, like it kills infectious organisms. It also appears to have an effect on nanotechnology, which also the sauna does and the light therapy does. And that's why the firelight is super special in doing the photobiomodulation, the light therapy with the heat therapy. So the optimal light and the optimal heat together it's able to address all these different types of poisons that we're exposed to nowadays, not just heavy metals and not just microplastic, but also graphene oxide and all this other crazy nanotech that just keeps, it just keeps coming out each year. So that's an incredible stack. And especially if you have a cold or you are sick or your health is just not that great, you will really feel the benefits of methylene blue.
I absolutely felt it. Now, curious question. When I had just this intuition to open my mouth and let the light get into my throat, because I had kind of a crunchy throat, and I would actually massage my sinuses, hoping that the methylene blue would be getting in there as I was getting the firelight.
Yeah.
So is there a physicality of what people can do when they're feeling ill to stack the firelight and the methylene blue? Should you actually move your face and move your tissues?
Yeah.
It felt like it worked for me.
Yeah, if you have swollen lymph nodes, probably if you had a cold, like right here.
Yep.
Yeah, you massage. There's a lymphatic massage, a self massage you can do where you start here and then you go down and then you go here and then you can kind of massage the face. You can do that while you're in the sauna. And if you take the methylene blue, even better, as a helpful temporary, targeted thing. And when you're in the sauna, ultimately it's all about the whole body. So when you're in the sauna, it's hitting the whole body. But yeah, you can absolutely target opening your mouth and really leaning more your throat into it and facing it more.
Yes.
Most of the time when you're in the sauna, because in the sauna space, the lights are in the back on one side. And so the typical use is to rotate every 4 or 5 minutes, but you can kind of just face the light most of the time and then face back, but then keep going and emphasize that area. And if you're outside the sauna, just using the little glow light, you can put that on the area right in your face, right wherever you need it.
Is it true that using the heat and the light therapy combined with either niacin or activated charcoal is a bonus in any way?
Well, it's interesting. Niacin's interesting because that's the L. Ron Hubbard protocol. The founder of Scientology. He had the high dose niacin with 2 saunas a day, long saunas, and taking a shitload of niacin, basically. And they used that on the 9/11 rescue workers. And there's a study on that where they tested blood levels of toluene and xylene and benzene. And they just had a huge detox. It was amazing what they did. But what's interesting about light is near-infrared light naturally causes, one of the direct effects is the release of nitric oxide out of the cell, which is what niacin is trying to do. It's trying to get the nitric oxide cycle in the body going. So you don't really need niacin, in my opinion, if you have near-infrared light. It's naturally doing that. Now that we're talking about the synergy between, why do light and heat together? Why not just keep them separate? Why not just do a regular sauna and use my LED red light panel? Well, there's some other really cool things that happen. So there's a lot of folks like Gary Brecka talks a lot about taking glutathione. You can't, you're not doing a sauna if you don't use glutathione beforehand. And it's very valid because glutathione is an antioxidant and it acts as a binder. And it's and people take NAC, right, to increase glutathione levels in the body. Glutathione, everybody talks about glutathione. So near-infrared light naturally stimulates the production of glutathione. In addition to melatonin, I think we might have talked about it last time. Most of the body's melatonin production is not in the pineal gland and it's not from blue light. It's subcellular melatonin that's produced when near-infrared light gets into the cells. 94% of the body's melatonin, which is one of the body's number one antioxidants, really important for our sleep rhythm and all these other things. Its main production is when you get near-infrared light into the body. So sunlight or firelight sauna, it's one of the best things to do. But that's just one antioxidant. It also produces glutathione. So yes, it's cool to take supplements beforehand. The methylene blue. Sometimes I take other, activation things like the Lotus Way products. I just love Katie's products. They're amazing to kind of get into a space where I'm there and centered. But there's so much that's going on in the inner pharmacy if you just give the body what it is designed to get. And light is the fundamental energy, the fundamental currency of the universe. It is the number one thing we need. So when you combine near infrared light, and the way we do it is an incandescent bulb. So we're also even saying light and heat is this weird like duality that's bullshit. Light is created from heat. That's how the sun creates it. So heat creates light, and they're both together. They're just different wavelengths, and due to the water's ability to absorb light, the longer wavelengths are absorbed by water more, and you get like this heating effect. And the shorter wavelengths are absorbed by mitochondria. They repolarize the cell membranes. They do all this other quantum stuff in the body. It's all magically activating us, and we're designed to get both of it together. So this approach that I have, that I found, from Dr. Kellogg's work, I feel like it's now full circle, getting a lot of appreciation, where I got a lot of criticism in the beginning. Oh, it's not a good enough sauna. It's not good enough light. It's not good enough of anything. Like, what is it? And in fact, incandescent light, now everybody's like, I'm going back to incandescent. LEDs are so evil and so horrible. And why would I want LEDs in my sauna? Well, if you use incandescent bulb, like what we do, the special incandescent bulb I've developed, this firelight bulb, you get all of it. And in this way, you get all of these amazing things that happen. And yes, you can add on top. So you can take binders before and after. I actually, pretty much every time I get in the sauna, I'm taking either ozonated activated charcoal, Dr. Group's toxin binder, also TRS spray, like zeolite spray. I'm doing something like that because the toxins come out of the cells, and you sweat a lot out, but some goes into your gut, definitely. So you have those clays in there, those charcoals and things, they help bind.
And also just from like a practicality, I didn't want to say this, but I'm just going to say it. I have this beautiful like $10,000 sauna, traditional heat sauna. I don't use it anymore. My guests come in and they're like, wow, this is this great sauna. And I'm like, yeah. And then I just do the super sauna instead in the corner. I just naturally do it because it took my regular sauna like 45 minutes to heat up. And then if it's like 10 degrees outside, it takes an hour or more. So
is it outside?
It's inside actually, but it gets really cold in my gym. So just from like a practical use case, I actually don't use regular sauna anymore. Because once I went into the research, and also just like I'm a parent, I have like a little slice of time in the morning. I want to get in and get out. 20 minutes with the super sauna is like a 30-minute investment with breath work, with me journaling, with me connecting with God. It is literally a ritual that I do every single day. And like my other affiliates probably going to be upset that I said that. But you know what? I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to call it like it is. Why do you think that people are so drawn to the photobiomodulation through the super sauna or the regular sauna compared to, the Finnish did it for a long time? It's not that these traditional saunas are bad. I'm not here to demonize traditional saunas. They're cool. They, like a big 10-person sauna, you can hang out with your friends and speak and connect. But there's something really special from a time capsulation perspective of just having like 20 minutes in and out. I think it just makes life more functional, especially if you're a parent.
Yeah, I think the efficiency of it and the ease of it, that's probably the most important thing. We've talked about all these, there's more benefits and there's more synergy between the two, but sauna increases your health span, the years of your life that you'll be healthy and happy. And the research indicates at least one time a week, but ideally 3 times a week. So with the super sauna, which is our premium version, it has either 7 or 8 bulbs.
We're going to put this on the screen so you guys can see it as Brian is talking about it right now. It's eight powerful bulbs. Yeah,
it's either 7 or 8, depending on what you go with. Most people just get the 7 now, since you have like the super duper version. But 7 is great. It's 2 of our sauna panels. It's the Hearth Quartet and the Hearth Trio. So that's 3 + 4 is 7. It's a 20-minute session, and for some people, it's not even that much. I know Mila usually uses it only for like 14 or 15 minutes. So
I'm a bit bigger than Mila.
So yeah, I mean, if you're a little bigger, but 20 minutes, right? So all of this benefit, not just the clinical benefits, the detox, the longevity, the cleansing the body, also that time you spend, that 20 minutes where you can listen to a prayer, listen to a meditation, do some quick breath work.
Yeah.
It's so much benefit that's so dialed in, so magnified in such a short period of time that 20 minutes 3 times a week is 1 hour a week. And yeah, comparing it to a regular sauna, you have to preheat it 45 minutes. You got to stay in there an hour. So that's like ends up being like a 6-hour time investment or almost. That's a big game changer for those of us who are busy in life. We're all busy and we have families and children and commuting and all this stuff. Like 20 minutes is something you can fit in the morning or you can fit in the evening, you know, right before bed. And then you can get that done. So the practical aspect of getting it done where, you know, most of us, we don't live like the Taoist masters, like slowly like walking the garden and just being in so much quiet. We have so much going on that it makes all the difference. And I would say one more thing about it is, yes, it's only 20 minutes and the super sauna is really intense. It's a lot of heat, but there's something about it that is really calming and healing. And like this 20-minute session, it's very centering and rejuvenating. You get out of it and like, no matter where you were beforehand, you feel better. You're ready for the day. Even if you have a cold or you didn't sleep well or something, it brings you back to yourself and back to life.
Yeah, I feel that. I love how it feels when I get out of the super sauna and then I go into the cold plunge. Can we talk about that? Because there's this freaking magic of contrast therapy. And I'm sure you've heard about this where people have probably written in and been like, why do I feel so amazing? It's the heat that sets you up for the cold that gives you the added hormesis. This is something that most people don't know if they're just starting out with any kind of therapy, heat or cold.
Yeah, and I would say the Finnish like tradition is usually hot, cold, hot. So it's usually starting in the sauna, like you just said, and then you go into the cold. There's all these benefits to cold therapy, you know, the cold shock proteins, and a lot of people are really for it. I think it's easier for men to use than women. I think for women, they have to be more careful with the stress that it can cause. So they can use it as well. But
yeah,
I think with all of us to be discerning with that. But yeah, it's generally beneficial, but it's more beneficial if you combine it, I think, with the heat. Part of it is you heat the body up, you get all these benefits of sauna, and then the hormetic stress contrast, the delta temperature change that you get, because you go in the sauna, you go from like 98.6 to like 101 or 102 Fahrenheit. And then you get into the cold plunge, and that will take you down to like, 96, 95 or something temporarily. And so you're getting this huge swing now of like 6 or 7 degrees instead of 3 degrees going from normal temp to the cold plunge. That is absolutely magical. Like I have a cold plunge at home. We have not set it up yet. It continues to just sit there, like not plugged in. It's never been used. I hope maybe this year I'll get it set up. But that is my favorite way is to get in the sauna, get in the cold plunge, and then actually get back in the sauna. So then you get to swing back and forth. And it's like, you will feel like you're on cloud 9 after that.
I had a guest describe to me once, it was a Navy SEAL doctor actually. And he said, if you think about the sarcomere, where the actin and myosin hooks create the lactic acid, what you're doing with the sauna is you're bringing all the blood is going to the skin. It's removing from the organs, it's pushing out to the skin, and then you jump into the cold and it shunts all that blood to your organs. So it's almost like if your muscle was a towel, you'd be wringing out all the crud, all the water. So it's like the forced compression of the cold and then the expansion of the heat. And that's what actually improves lymphatic flow and detoxification. Do you resonate with that?
Yeah. There's definitely a squishing that's going on. The blood flow, yes. Also the sauna is also opening and activating lymphatic flow. So that's also better. Yeah. And then you get into the cold and it goes, and it's, the body responds to the stress by like strengthening itself. Another thing that the sauna does and the light therapy does is it increases vascularization of the tissue. So it's not just improving blood flow, increasing, dilating the blood vessels and making more blood flow. It actually forces the cardiovascular system to create new blood vessels and for the actual vessels that are there to get bigger and thicker and stronger. And so all these things, it's like the heat is really opening and expansive and widening and broadening. And then the cold, if it's a targeted stress like that, it does the exact opposite. And the body becomes really strong and really flexible, like it can handle that. That's a really important also marker of health. Like, can you withstand intermittent stress really well? Like if I take you and I just put you into a cold plunge without any notice, like, can you regulate your nervous system, like, and your temperature and everything, and stay like in the zen, in the zone, in the flow state, or does it knock you out, or does the slightest honk of a horn at an intersection like make you like, you know, it gets you like completely jacked up. And so doing these things and combining those two is amazing. I don't have it, but if you do have it and you can combine it, my favorite is the hot, cold, hot.
I was talking with Mark Groves, and he was like, I love doing the hot and the cold, because he brought up something really special. He was like, you know, when you're in the cold and you feel that response to hold your breath, it's the same response when you get in a fight with your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend. So we were just getting gonged with wisdom of when you do the hot and the cold, specifically the cold. And then I love how you say finish with the hot. I'd love to go into that a little bit more, but the cold, that neural system adaptation where we go, it's the same thing when my wife might yell at me. If I'm not conscious, I'll hold my breath, and I can't do anything loving if I'm holding my breath. There's no way. There's no way I can be loving or present if I'm constricted and constipated.
Yeah. When you hold your breath, it's all in the chest. The diaphragm is locked up. You feel unsafe.
Yeah.
And you get really defensive. And when you do that, you can't connect with your partner.
You're done.
You know, all of a sudden. And so, yeah, the cold plunge, that's why it's so awesome to, like, if you've never done it before, to have somebody like coach you with breathing and just talk to you.
Yes.
Cause that's when I did it the first time, I was like, and I was like, fuck this. And I don't want to be in here. Like, and then I had this guy who was like, no, man, just breathe. And I just started breathing, and I ended up being able to stay in there like 3.5 minutes the first time. It was awesome.
So if you go hot, cold, and then hot, why do you finish with the hot? Like, what's the emotional and scientific benefit of finishing the hot, cold therapy with the hot?
Well, the cold plunge folks will say, no, finish with the cold because of the brown fat development, all that. The
it seems like you're still getting it though, if you're doing a round.
I'm not sure about the whole brown fat thing. Like, it's interesting, but there's clear benefits to finishing or just having a sauna session and being hot afterwards. So the heat shock proteins continue to be produced for the next hour until the body goes all the way back down to resting body temperature. You're still getting cellular cleansing going on, and heat shock proteins also refold and correct misfolded proteins. And our body, the proteins are like, do everything in the body. They're all the line workers. Enzymes are large proteins, you know, like they're doing everything. They're the line workers, the assembly workers, you know, the blue collar workers of the whole body. And as soon as they're made by the DNA, by the cell's blueprint, they're already misfolded. Usually they're already messed up. In a perfect society, you know, perfect state of health, they might be a lower degree of folding, but the average degree of misfolded proteins is like 20 or more % of the protein is misfolded. So already kind of like in a suboptimal state. But the body has heat shock proteins that if you activate consistently through sweating, through sauna, the heat shock proteins will go and correct those foldings and make those proteins work perfectly again. So they also move the proteins around so they're supposed to be in the right spot. That's called the proteome, like where things are in the body. And they also go outside the cells and fix the proteins on the outside of the cells. That's why heat therapy and sauna therapy is associated with reducing insulin resistance, because it's fixing the insulin receptor protein. It's not just about the insulin not being produced or being produced correctly by the pancreas. It's how is it being received, and can it talk to the cell where it's supposed to? So these heat shock proteins are doing these amazing things for healing. It's not just cleansing the body, it's reoptimizing cellular and organ function. And some of the other things I mentioned too, if you are in the sauna, you finish with the sauna, you just are getting that benefit for like a whole nother hour afterwards. Especially if, like, when you rinse off, you're in the shower, it's lukewarm water, it's not cold. And yeah, your body will stay warm for another hour.
Yeah. From a expanded consciousness perspective, I have done empty stomach, 0.25 of psilocybin in the morning with maybe some paraxanthine, and then do the sauna space.
Wow.
And it's amazing because whether I'm doing some light breath work or I'm just praying, obviously, you know, as I'm sure you're a fellow explorer of consciousness, when we get our brain hemispheres to connect, and when the default mode network turns the volume down, when I stop seeking for danger or trying to make myself safe, There's some incredible emotional and mental breakthroughs that happen in the presence of the full spectrum light and the stacking of the psilocybin. Have you experienced this personally? Because it's been a game changer for me.
Yeah, I actually have tried those two together.
Empty stomach though. That's the key for me.
Yeah, well, fasting's the best for everything. You don't want to get in the sauna, by the way, when you just ate. You want to be empty stomach. And really that's everything. Like, I'm more and more convinced that this is kind of controversial, but that men at least don't need to eat every day. Like consistently fasting. We know, sauna and fasting are the only two known natural therapeutics that help you live longer, that are like clinically documented. Those are the two things. There's other things, definitely peptides. There's other cool stuff that I think definitely increases longevity.
Yeah,
for sure. But these two basic things are like fundamental: sauna and fasting. And so, yeah, you want to be in a fasted state, and it allows you to access deeper powers within. Our energetic body. Our whole body is this electromagnet. Our heart is an electromagnet. That's how it's pumping the blood down. It's vortexing and structuring the blood as it goes down. But it's also an electromagnet, and the whole body has this like toroidal field, right? That the ancients called the Merkaba field, that you can activate, and humans have auric fields, right? Like you can actually measure these things. So we are these energetic beings, and when you're in the sauna, especially when you're fasted, I feel like the psilocybin is like it's ego dissociative in a way, but not in a way that takes you out of body. It takes you into body.
Yes.
So it's telling your monkey mind or your ego or just your thinking mind, your survival mind. I don't like to put it in a negative light. It's there to serve us. It's the messenger, right? But we're supposed to be the master. So the psilocybin it helps you like drop into the body. Definitely. It's very helpful. And the light does too, though. The light, you just sit. You really don't need anything. If you're just completely fasted with some electrolytes, you have some good salt water, so you've got a lot of voltage in your body. The light, it reminds you of who you are. The light is not just inert. It has information, and it's programming you at the cellular level, at the quantum level, even at the conscious level of like that we are these divine beings in these physical bodies. And so I felt that. I know you felt that. We have thousands of customer stories where like they have these huge emotional clearings in there. It's where you get into a really coherent state. Also, that's why I love some of the Lotus Way products. They're just so helpful in assisting us in recognizing and having an awareness of what isn't ours inside of us. What doesn't belong, a program, a trapped emotion, a perspective that's a limiting belief, that's whatever. It's not really who we are. And the sauna, I think the sauna is just, the firelight especially, is such a safe way to do some internal exploration. So that's an amazing stack. You can do that. There are other things that you can, do. You can also just do nothing, but the light will invariably, slowly but surely, through cleansing of the physical body, bring clarity of mind and increase your awareness, so that then you can look within and really dive deep into, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? What do I love? What are these truths, that I thought were true, but are somebody else's truth or somebody else's subjective truths? I know last time I mentioned the 4 agreements. And you're like, dude, you really want to know what spiritual transcendence is like. Spend a week with your family and stay cool with them.
Oh yeah.
It's so true. But I was just bringing that up because since then, I read his a later book that he wrote called The Fifth Agreement.
The Fifth Agreement.
Be skeptical, but listen.
Yeah.
And like adding that into be skeptical, but listen. There's a big component of that that's like beware and be open, be listening, but be careful about what you're hearing from somebody else. But it's also within. Like there's these thoughts, right, that we tell ourselves, these limiting beliefs, like I'm not good enough, or shame, or whatever, fear about something. And when you feel safe, when you're in the firelight and when you're in the sauna, especially if you have the silver lining, and you're all like protected from all this modern crazy stress, your body feels safe and you begin to remember that you're a divine being and you start to let these things go. And so when you get that clarity of mind, you have like actual spiritual transformation that occurs. And it's in, again, this safe space. It's not intense or traumatic or aggressive. It's really at your own pace. And the light is just so conducive and supportive of that natural healing process that there, no one's healing us. We're healing ourselves in all of this.
The 4 agreements are so deep. I have this on repeat all the time. It's like my favorite book. Be impeccable with your word, never make assumptions, don't take anything personally, and always do your best. And then the 5th agreement you mentioned, it's something that I think is a really beautiful virtue to hang on the wall, but living that virtue, like actually living it, is where the rubber meets the road on how you show up and how you love and even your capacity to experience light, because most of our body's light, right? So then with that frame, what has been one of the most transcendent or emotionally cathartic experiences that you've had in the sauna space?
I had this memory. Somebody told me to think about the first time you felt love. And when I was asked that, I had this seed that was planted. And I realized one day in a session in the sauna that the first memory was that my first conscious memory was this memory of me looking up at my mom and dad, and they were holding me. And it was in the hospital. It was when I was born. It's the day I was born. And it's a very vivid scene. Like they're like cooing at me and telling me they love me and stuff. And like it's bright lights and like it's just my mom. And it's very clear. And it's like a real, actual conscious memory, which was for me fascinating because up until recently, I never had any memory before I was like maybe 3 or 4 or something like that. Like I broke my leg when I was just barely 3, and my femur or my lower leg. It was. And I remember that, right? It was really traumatic. Climbed up this fence and fell off and broke it. But anything before that, certainly like the day I was born, that seems impossible. But yes, I have this clear, and now I can go back to that memory, and it's like totally there, and it just. There's all these like limiting beliefs that we have, and it just makes you wonder, man, like really, like what is impossible? Is there anything that is impossible? Like we can remember, our subconscious has a record of everything we've ever experienced, in addition to things we've inherited.
Yeah.
And that includes like when we were in the womb, and we can remember these things. We have access to these things. It takes, again, a really clear physical body, and then a letting go and a releasing of stagnancy in terms of emotions and limiting beliefs that are disrupting our energy body and our ability to like see the truth of things as they are within and without. And so like, that's one example, like that like, yeah, when I first met Mila and a long time ago, a couple years ago, when I was like really awakening to a lot of things, like when I would see something that was like, this is unbelievable, I'd say, oh, this is impossible, or this is crazy, or this is unbelievable. And now I don't say any of that stuff anymore because I realize even that stuff was like limiting belief. Like it is actually believable. I can choose to, and it's not even about belief. It's about knowing, like you know it. And so, I can't prove that to anyone else, but like this memory, my mom, like looking at me, it's something I know. Like, and as soon as I think of it, like I feel this, that's for me what love is, like this feeling of love, this frequency that is something that's indescribable. Mm-hmm. Everybody has their own understanding of it. For me, it's that, and I know it.
It seems to be the emotional epigenetics or the transfer epigenetically. The Native Americans have the 7th generation principle. So when you go into the firelight, or when you go into somatic therapy, or when you do breath work, or when you do any kind of healing modality, that choice impacts 7 generations in the past, and it transforms 7 generations in the future. Yeah. And what the most beautiful gift for our children that we actually model that we already are healed, not faking it, not forcing it, but turning on the healthy healing epigenetic signals. We can't change our DNA is fixed, but the piano keys that play it through the epigenome, through healing modalities, can actually change your life. It's not reductionistic thinking. It's so powerful just to make a choice and say, I'm going to spend 20 minutes. And actually, it's funny, in the morning, I usually do it super early in the morning, the sauna space, and my kids will come down there and sit for like a minute. It gets kind of hot, so they leave, but they sit in there with me and they see me doing it. They see me working out. They see me doing the cold. They see me more than listen to me. And I think that is like, I mean, I'm feeling emotional just talking with you about it. It's so profound. Just them seeing me in a healing modality or seeing me as already healed. Then they don't have to carry that baggage. They don't have to deal with as much limiting beliefs as all of us deal with.
Absolutely. They're not just seeing you, they're feeling you.
They're feeling us.
They have less programming than we do as adults. So they see the truth of reality much better than us. And it doesn't matter whether you're having a loud, destructive argument with your wife or you're just feeling the anger inside. They pick up on it like that.
Yeah.
And they are influenced by it. And we all have, it's not good or bad. Like what we're born with, this is, it's kind of like a soul contract. It's a challenge for this cycle, this lifetime. Like, what do we want to do? All paths lead back to oneness. It's okay. There's no judgment in which path you choose to take. But I think the Creator smiles upon us and really wants us to take the path of elevation, the path of awareness, the path of healing and alignment and centering. And so when we work on ourselves and stop worrying about everybody else, which was my big, I'm going to say lesson, not mistake. It's my big mistake.
Yeah.
But it was a lesson. It took me a long time to realize that I was trying to rescue everyone else. And it's in a rescuer mindset. And that's like the drama triangle, right?
Triangle, yeah.
The rescuer, the victim, the perpetrator.
Yes, they all need each other.
I think the rescuer is the most damaging and destructive because they have this righteousness to them. The perpetrator is like, whatever, I don't give a fuck. And the victim's the victim, but the rescuer thinks they're right and righteous and in doing these things. But they're, when you're trying to rescue everybody else, you're taking away their agency. You're not letting them choose for themselves, and you're distracting yourself from focusing on yourself. And that was my big lesson to learn. And once I started working on myself, this makes me also really emotional. Like my whole life changed from being hard and difficult and grueling to like just fun, challenging and smooth and in flow, whether it's like hiring people at the company and getting people who are aligned with our core values, to just my relationship to my mother and my relationship to my children. Everything came, the benefits that I really wanted was to like help people and have good relationships and make everybody around me feel loved.
Yeah.
I was never able to solve any of that or improve any of that significantly by focusing directly on them and trying to rescue them. But once I focused on myself and let go of things and increased my frequency and my awareness and letting go of my limiting beliefs and my awareness of my own patterns and stuff, the oblique benefit was I am more of like a light and a lantern. And then people around are, gives people permission to like feel safe and work on themselves, which we all need to do. And that's what needs to happen. So the kids, most of all, like, and I still catch myself and I still definitely make all kinds of mistakes. Like I'll sit there and I'll be saying something and I'll be like, oh, why did I even say that? Like, where does that come from? Oh yeah, that's something I learned from my mom or my dad or whatever.
Yeah.
Whoa. And so then I'll do it again, maybe, and I'll do it again. But like each time I catch myself quicker and then eventually, I get through it. And then instead of trying to tell, my kids, this is the way you should be. Both my children are boys. So this is the way you should be as a man, or this is the way you should be as a boy, or this is the, I model it myself. And then they see, and like, it's much easier, absolutely, to teach them things just by that state of being, instead of trying to force it. Man, absolutely.
I'm going to give you a gift. I didn't know I was going to do this, but I have a phrase that I've been saying for almost 2 years now. And it's, of course, related to light. So it's a perfect gift for you. It's a sweatshirt that we sell, and it says that leaders hold lanterns. And it's because when I hold up a lantern, I illuminate my own fallacies. I illuminate my own complexity, my own struggles. And by me doing that, I'm not robbing someone else of what happens when I hold the light. because for a long time when I was a personal trainer, and I think yoga practitioners, therapists, massage therapists, they hold a flashlight. They're like, well, what do you do for a living? Well, I just shine light on other people. But guess what space stays dark?
Yeah.
The space between the flashlights. So it's like leaders hold lanterns. So you are definitely a leader that holds a lantern. So I hope you'll receive that gift. It's an amazing sweatshirt.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just love what you stand for. I love the practice that I do every single day. Just incredible, man. We covered so much ground. Is there something top of chest, top of heart that you really want to let people know about this healing power that we've explored today in such depth? Is there anything you think we missed?
I feel like we covered it. People want to check out the product more, they can go to the website.
And thank you for the hookup, by the way. The hookup is insane. So for a week, you guys, you get 15% off, which is very rare. So head over to sauna.space, use the code Josh at checkout. This offer ends March 19. So if you're feeling it, like now's the time, basically. It's on the screen right now. It's in the show notes where you're listening. After that, it goes back to a 10% discount, but you may as well get the extra 5% off. These things are made in America. The quality of the materials is beautiful. Like you can tell that I'm very partial to sauna space, hence why I don't use my traditional sauna anymore. So if y'all are feeling it, make sure you capitalize on this opportunity that Brian and his team are giving to you.
And it's incandescent light. So if you're not understanding what that means, go to the website, check it out. Incandescent light is the only light we have in nature, and it's the light that really is so satisfying to us, at all levels, like all these different mental, emotional, physical levels. And what I would like to add here at the end is it's because also it resonates with our inner incandescence. And this, the tantrikas talk about this in like tantric philosophy, this concept of inner incandescence, that we all have this light, this consciousness, this desire, this intention. For the tantrikas, those are all kind of the same thing that's inside of us. And we're in our groove and we're in our highest expression when that inner incandescence is super bright and like radiant. And then we can be present, and then we can be powerful and really achieve what we want to achieve and be in our purpose. And it's the incandescent light that we have in the reality and the environment around us, which is really only the sun and incandescent bulbs like their firelight bulb, that more than anything else is a super powerful activator of remembrance of, again, this inner incandescence that we have. So the last thing I would add that I think is important, it's just been a fascination of mine over the last year or so, is kind of in the vein of the tantric philosophy and the Taoist philosophy as it relates to sacred lovemaking, which is not just sacred. It's not just the act itself, but it's this concept of divine union, where we all we all get stuck in duality. It's okay. It's like part of our experience here is there's masculine and there's feminine, and there's men and there's women, and there's all this conflict around that, like what men should be, what women should be, and there's a lot of division. When the ancients understood that it's all about the divine union, the masculine and feminine union within, and also for what the ancient described as the divine union between a man and a woman. And yes, there's like the actual lovemaking aspect of that, which is really important, really powerful. And that's a part of our inner pharmacy, actually. Is the most powerful tool that humans have to heal themselves is sacred lovemaking, actually. And it's something that's been suppressed for a long time, but not spending too much time into that, because that could be a whole nother podcast. Just this idea of the divine union within and the divine union between a man and a woman as being this, it's something that, some people are talking about it, Montauk Chia and Osho and some other people are like talking about this, but it's still not really at the forefront. And I'd like to see it brought more to the forefront in the world of natural wellness and the world of biohacking, because the harmonious union between, a husband and a wife is the most powerful thing in reality. It's the backbone of the family. It's It's the foundation of how children are reared in a healthy way. And it's also not something that you have to go to mystery school and study for like 30 years. We all have, this is all programmed in ourselves, but there's definitely a self-exploration that has to happen because this has been suppressed. The divine feminine has been suppressed. Our society is very masculinized. And that's also with men seeking their purpose outside of themselves. Like business is great and wealth accumulation is great, but only if it's serving your higher purpose. If you're doing it just for the commodities, and the assets, and you're not listening to, you have no idea, or you're ignoring your inner purpose, it's emasculating actually. And the man and the woman, there's just this whole like reality around this that's really fascinating that I've just been exploring in the last year. And more importantly, and I won't say I know what the heck I'm doing at all. I'm just trying to figure it out. There's some really cool books out there you can check out. But for me, it's like, I was never taught how to love. By my parents loved me and they were always together, and my dad, had some alcohol issues and fully healed and recovered from those, thankfully. But they never like prepared me for how do you treat a woman? Like, yes, respect, don't lie, be honest and those sorts of things, and be kind. But like, what is it? How does a man in sacred union with a woman, how does he act? How does he make her feel? And the man's electric and he's penetrative, and the woman's receptive and she's magnetic, and like women don't understand things logically. You can't logic your way into a woman's heart at all. They have emotional truth that can change from moment to moment, but also like, like you try to explain, like, I just wish, I was never explained, like, hey man, like don't try to argue with a woman. You just hug her, just show her you love her, and then she'll relax. And women want to feel relaxed and feel safe. And that's how they get into their feminine. And when a woman's into a feminine, it's activating and enabling for a man to be more in his masculine, and not like a weird modern, like a sacred divine masculine.
Yeah, like a dance.
A dance. Yeah. And so there's this interdependence. And I think it's so important for us. Yes, we need to heal ourselves and understand this masculine, feminine within, but also for men who choose to be with women and vice versa. There's this most powerful thing that we have, and it's the sacred union of the masculine and the feminine in this way that we can all do. But there's a lot of limiting beliefs that like need to be discarded and explored in ways, and like understand that, and women too, they need to understand that men operate differently. And there's it can be a dance, or it can be like this super chaotic
boxing match.
Yeah, and it's interesting because sex is so taboo, but the ancients didn't use the word sex; they used the word lovemaking, and it's so taboo, right? And men's experience growing up with sexuality is usually porn, and masturbation, and no shame in that, but like we weren't ever prepared for this most powerful thing that we have, the lower dantian, the sacral chakra is the most powerful energy producing area in the men, and in the women it produces life. That's where all life comes from. So it's fascinating how I think that like the nefarious forces have suppressed all this and sort of demonized sexuality, just in the Western religion and things like that. And yet it's something that's on everybody's mind all the time, and it can't be avoided. So how do we develop like a healthy relationship with it that's not from any programs or any limiting beliefs, and is something that's really powerful?
I love that you brought that forward. Two things. Number one, you can see on the mic flag, it's on the screen right now, there's the chalice of renewal. It's the upside down triangle. It's the feminine energy. And that's been my biggest learning curve, Brian, on planet Earth, is to accept my anima and to be a space of containment and safety for my wife. It's my greatest, I'll be honest, it's my greatest challenge. So I think what you're speaking to is a beautiful way to round out the conversation, probably a whole nother pod actually. But then the second thing I was going to say is, yes, this divine union is this beautiful lock and key. It's this wonderful space that I think many people chase. But if we want to talk about the nefarious conscious or unconscious forces of the LEDs, let's also, just before we leave, talk about the nefarious forces, why pornography is on every device with no filters. No one ever stops to think, why do we have pornography in every state, in every country, on every device for free, 24/7, 365? Wouldn't it just make sense to have that have a passcode and a paywall and have it completely removed from the internet? Just a thought experiment for us to all be curious about as we look into what it is to be whole and sacred and healed and complete. I think it's absolutely an abomination that pornography is on every device, everywhere, at any time. Like you said, most men, like me, our introduction to sexuality is pornography. And then when you get somebody at an early age and you take away their sexual innocence, or you see things that you never biologically should see at that age, it sends you on a path of destruction. It sends you on a path of disconnecting from self and then eventually coming back home. It's all part of the journey, right? So thank you for bringing that up, man. I really appreciate the presence that you bring. I said before you came in here that you were wearing a teaching outfit. You actually are a teacher. So thank you for teaching the wisdom that you've shared with us on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
And just thank you for, this is our 4th time on the podcast, man. Really, really enjoyable. Thank you for being my guest and bringing your lovely wife to the studio as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm grateful to be here. You're such a good interviewer, man.
Well, it's because I love this. I love learning the truth of things. I want to know the truth of things.
Well, the truth is within, but it takes these stressful conversations to stress us and our limiting or our beliefs and like,
Yes.
hey, maybe there's something out there. You know, the truth is this pornography stuff. It is like super evil and awful, but it's entirely correctable and avoidable when people, especially men, understand that the real thing, the real sacred sexuality, the sacred lovemaking, the divine union is dimensionally more satisfying and meaningful and amazing physically, emotionally, mentally than that pornography. Like the real thing is just the fake shit does not hold a candle to the real thing. And once men understand that, and women too, like that stuff, it doesn't matter how much is out there. It's just, it's going to be ignored.
All right. So what I heard from you is make love in the sauna space. So make love in the sauna space. It's on the screen again. The code is Josh. You get 15% off for the next week. Until I see you again, I'm wishing you all love, wellness, but absolutely paramount, most importantly, I'm wishing you peace, because you can't have power, I believe, unless it comes from peace. So we'll talk with you guys next week. Peace.
Beautiful. Thank you.